ones on all the presentations we've had today. We've covered a lot of ground. Hopefully it's been thought-provoking. And who would like to kick us off with the first one?
What was the first technology that you, each of you remember actually liberating you?
I've probably got two examples. I remember I was in my early 20s and I was given my first mobile phone and someone taught me how to do an SMS. So that was pretty liberating. I was just kind of like, wow. Unfortunately, there wasn't really many people to SMS with in those days. But I've always been a big fan since then. And then probably the first time, this is a Microsoft one, so apologies for this. It was probably the first time I used Windows, where I'd gone from like a DOS system, and everyone said, wow, you got this new Windows thing. And I tried to use a mouse for the first time, and it was going all over the screen, and I kind of thought, I'm never going to get used to this. But obviously, the kind of Windows interface and GUI and yeah, so that was pretty cool actually,
big step
at the time. Yeah.
I'll do a real quick one. Yeah, I think that's a horrible question actually, because that's a bit like watching your children grow. You know, you kind of, it just happens day by day, doesn't it? So it's very difficult to define that. I think probably actually there's a very relevant recent one from my point of view, which is actually I'm starting to get into Twitter, which might sound a bit archaic by some standards around here, but I'm actually starting to get into it and I'm seeing the value, and actually I'm following the feeds that have been going on here. It's great. So I don't really care about, frankly, Facebook a great deal because I don't really want to know what my friends have had for breakfast, but I do see the business value in Twitter more and more, so that's kind of working increasingly. Also, I went to an event, a charity auction over Christmas, and I'd had a couple of glasses too much of wine, and I bought one of these 1980s gaming console things you must put your beer on. Do you remember those things with Space Invaders and all over the glass tables? Fantastic, fantastic. My kids love it.
I've got two. I remember getting a Rally Winner bicycle when I was about 11 years old, and that liberated me. Independence, it was amazing. That bike was just awesome. And then I remember 20 years ago, I was a geography student about to embark probably on a career as a teacher, and I remember seeing somebody said, check out this computer screen, and there was a map downloading on what was Mosaic, I think it was, and that was the internet, and I was just like, holy cow, and that changed everything. That's it for me.
So I think I gave some examples earlier, but my first one was actually, and I saw a picture on the tweet earlier, which was an Amiga. So my eldest brother was in the RAF and had a very good way of selling me stuff that he'd bought from his friends in the RAF, very cheap, made a profit. And and I bought an Amiga, and actually that's why I'm in IT. I think buying an Amiga, playing games, doing college work, coursework and stuff like that. So I'm not on Facebook. And so it's funny, isn't it? I think in some respects technology is great, but you can still choose not to use it. So I stayed away from Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, yes.
James?
Well, I had a portable Commodore 64. It's actually what you would call luggable more than portable because it looked like an HP oscilloscope. But more seriously, I think we all understand the bicycle moment that you had, Andy, but I used to be a big supporter of the women's liberation movement. They wouldn't have me, but I was still a supporter. And I notice now it's more kind of the feminist movement, not so much about liberation. And I put it to you that the bicycle moment, or when an African can get hold of water through technology, we understand the liberating side of that. But for me, liberation is to do with you and me. You know, it's to do with movements, and technology can play a part in that. We make technology, but it can offer some freedom, but the big freedom is for us to win.
Okay, well the people in Cobweb know I've got one, because off and on for about 8 years I managed to sail around the world thanks to technology that was bolted on the back of my boat. So I'm a big fan of the benefits of that. Do you have a second one?
So cloud computing is thriving on partnerships and collaboration. Do you see the corporates making a consolidation plan? And that's from Michael Alpin.
I mean, certainly, I guess if I think about the, from the time that probably we've worked together on Cloud, Paul, what started certainly at the top in big enterprise and then at the bottom, where we're seeing, every corporate customer that we're dealing with now, from public sector to commercial, they've either got a hybrid plan, they're trying to get a plan, they're trying to think about partnerships to drive that. In terms of the vendors that they're working with, if that's the question that you're asking, I think they're still trying to figure out who, obviously we hope that Microsoft will play a big part in that, but they're figuring out what's the right mix, how are they going to manage that, how do they do that in a way. I think if we think about when everything went to Active Directory and we all moved into the network, the internet, etc., I think the management of all the different cloud providers, I think, is something certainly I'm sure you hear, Alex, that customers are wrestling with. Again, it's, I talked a lot about the people element of it. What they're looking for is how's technology going to be able to bring their business alive, and how can they focus on taking IT costs out of things that don't bring business value to them, to something that's going to really enable their business. Too many businesses today still spend the bulk majority of their technology on just keeping the lights on and not adding real business value. And those are some of the themes I see from customers.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think the other element I think we see in terms of kind of collaboration is, I love my job actually, because I sit right in the middle of the industry and I engage with lots of different vendors out there, and I don't have any competitors, so that's kind of a nice position to be in. So I go and chat with the cloud guys at IBM and at HP and at Microsoft and so on, and I kind of just play impartial around all that stuff. So that's kind of great fun. So it gives quite a good perspective in terms of what's going on out there. But actually, do you know what? The key people within the industry, because all the vendors, with respect, are going, we've got the answer to the cloud, okay? But actually, the people who have the answer to the cloud are the enablers out there, are the organizations who are going to do that work on behalf of the users. And that might well be bringing in elements of different vendors' technology. And that's kind of what it will end up being. So that kind of, I suppose, lends it back conveniently to the Cobweb story, doesn't it?
I think what's happening now is, cloud has been great, and all these businesses have been built in the cloud, and we're just now wrapping our heads around being able to consolidate and strip back some of the unnecessary elements of operating those businesses. But in order to scale industry, what's most exciting, I think, is really being able to apply all the new elements of technology to the cloud. Because now what you have is you finally have the algos and the technologies that will allow us to unlock the Internet of Value of things. So we're creating this new economic layer. We have the Internet of Things, which is great, and all those technologies are helping us realize the Internet of Things, but actually unlocking the value of those Internet of Things is really what's important as far as what matters to industry, as far as I see it.
You give me the mic, I feel I have to give an answer. I actually think that, consolidation of cloud, I think Cobweb's a great example, is that, we heard earlier that vendors all think they have the answer. And I think the reality is that cloud is a vehicle, for want of a better analogy, but it's a vehicle, it's a delivery mechanism. And I think, somebody like Cobweb has the ability to bring all the great technology areas, from the different vendors, but deliver that in a consolidated form to a customer. So I think it makes it easier to consume. The complexity is taken out of it and those kind of things. So I don't know whether there's so much a consolidation, at a vendor level, but I think that, certainly when we look at a partner level, I think that's where I feel partners are adding massive value, not just to the vendors, but also to the customers as well.
Okay, well, we've overrun. Thank you very much for that. I think on that uplifting note, because you also mentioned Cobweb very nicely, it's a nice way to wrap us all up. The drinks and the food are out there waiting for us, and we're a little late already. So thank you very much indeed for attending. I'd like to thank all the speakers for taking time out today and passing on their knowledge and thoughts for everybody. And so thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Thank you very much.